This week on Previews World Weekly, DC Comics unveils one of its first non-binary characters. We discuss a comic world without Jack Kirby and unpack your responses to the best final issues in comic books. It's all happening right now on Previews World Weekly.
What's up, Previews World? It's Wednesday. It's New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood.
And happy pre-Turkey Day, Ashton.
Yes, I'm excited to eat.
Yeah, I know. It's I feel like all I've been doing is eating during COVID. Like this is the absolute worst. Like I'm kind of like done with eating at this point.
I feel that. Last night I came down and ate a bunch of Oreos at 12:30, and then immediately was like, was that a good idea?
Nah, you know what? Been there, done that. Dinner becomes breakfast, breakfast becomes dinner. It's not. COVID is ruining everything. I was in such great shape before the pandemic, and I hate it all.
Right.
Ubaldo, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man? Hello, happy Thanksgiving to you too. I appreciate it. So Ashton, you didn't watch Mandalorian last week. What is wrong with you?
I didn't do it on purpose. I was out Christmas shopping over the weekend, and then I resolved myself to watch it last night, and I turned on the TV, and my cousin Vinny was on cable, and I was like, I have to, right?
Gotta do it. You know, you cannot resist the tractor beam of charisma that is Marissa Tomei, Joe Pesci, and Ralph Macchio. Actually, right? Isn't Ralph Macchio at the Karate Kid?
Yeah, although he mostly just sits at the defense table, looking really scared for most of the movie.
Actually, I've been watching a lot of Cobra Kai lately. Actually, been really into Cobra Kai, and I kind of forgot how. Kind of like everyday guy Ralph Macchio is, and like how that's kind of like translates really well. So now I want to watch My Cousin Vinny because I'm like, oh, Ralph Macchio's not a bad actor. I just Johnny's giving me all sorts of hell. He's like, I've lost all respect. He's in the private chat.
Why?
Our producer Johnny Rose. He's like, I've lost all respect for Ashton. You never pick My Cousin Vinny over Star Wars.
My Cousin Vinny is a classic. Marissa Tomei won an Oscar for that.
She won an Oscar. She did. It's very true. And look, you know what? I mean, look, there's some Star Wars I will definitely pick My Cousin Vinny over. So whatever. So I'm gonna spoil some Mandalorian stuff for you after we get into things we saw this week. How about that? We'll reverse engineer our conversation today. So how about you go first? What cool thing you saw this week that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I'm not a big superhero comics reader. I've said this before, but this is a really exciting thing that I'm very hyped to talk about. DC Comics is rolling out one of their first non-binary characters, the first non-binary iteration of the Flash. Their name is Jess Chambers. They go by Kid Quick. They're gender fluid and they use they them pronouns. So this is all pretty groundbreaking for DC, and they'll be ushering this character in as part of their Future Slate series launching the top of next year. But they will appear first in DC's Very Merry Multiverse, and they'll take up the mantle as the Flash in Earth 11's Teen Justice Team. I don't know what that means. Doesn't mean anything to me, but I'm very excited for the visibility, the representation, the inclusion that this means, and it's great for people to be able to see themselves in the way that they identify in the media they consume. So I'm super excited for this.
Teen Justice Team. That kind of sounds like a hybrid of Young Justice and Teen Titans. I'm going to assume. It seems like that's what they're doing there, and they're roughly they're kind of the same the same team. So that's totally fine. I get that. I'm always curious about this. I think in the past, I can't necessarily speak for non-binary people, but I know as a person of color.
Fair.
When we sometimes I see these things and when they lead with an orientation or skin tone or something like that, I'm always kind of like, okay, what are we going to get here? Because it's really going to come down to execution. Because sometimes when you lead with that, and that's all it is. Oh, this character's black, or this character is gay.
Right.
That can be just as marginalizing as anything else that would be perceived immediately as negative. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So no, hats off for them. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer about it. Like, let's see. And I know some people are up in arms about this already. I don't want to give them too much play though, because I feel like a lot of times in these situations, especially for longtime comic readers, they're so used to seeing iterations of the Flash and Superman, and like they made President Obama Superman for several books. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's not necessarily like that big of a groundbreaking thing to replace these characters with newer versions of the characters or whatever. So I think what typically happens in these situations, you get like a handful of angry people who've only really watched truthfully movies and TV shows, and they come in and they're all like, "Oh, how dare they do this?" And it's like, this is not really that different. No. It's kind of par for the course for a franchise that is like lousy with multiverses. Like, so I don't think we need to get too up in arms about that. Sorry, guys. Cool thing I saw this week. I want to give credit to the artist. I do not know who the artist is. If you know who the artist is, please let me know. But I saw this post in the Cartoonist Kayfabe group, of course, because I frequent that all the time, Cartoonist Kayfabe. And it was of X-Men without Jack Kirby. And it's interesting because, like, if you look at the original X-Men #1 cover, it's definitely like jumps at you a lot more. And this is like kind of basically the artist, I assume, saying that Kirby presented a kind of an action and a dynamicism, like, to comic book covers. And he's often credited with being like the person who introduced, they kind of made the comic book art transition into a new, at the time, modern era. And so I kind of think that, like, it's interesting to kind of see just someone interpret how I hesitate to say flat, right? Because I don't want to do a disservice to guys like Kurt Swan and all the Carmen Infantino, all the people before them, before Kirby came back into comics during the Silver Age. But he definitely provided like a sort of like bang pow, like in your face style that I think if someone else would have came along and done that, right? But Jack Kirby did it first. You know what I mean? So he's kind of like, without him, you wouldn't have gotten, the John Byrnes, and you would get the Todd McFarlane's. Like, everything would have been pushed back another decade or so, just so someone could have figured out, like, oh, I don't have to draw comics this way anymore. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. And like, I saw that and I was like, oh, I'm gonna shout this out. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
So what do you know? Oh, hold on. Jack Kirby's New Gods is a masterpiece. And you know what? I have not read New Gods, but I have heard very much it is a masterpiece. We'd have no Silver Surfer for a start. You're absolutely right about that, Sean Thomas. No Silver Surfer. No Fantastic Four. We actually wouldn't have had the initial design for Peter Parker Spider-Man. So without Jack Kirby, So yeah, the industry as a whole, like, is indebted to him. And I'm glad that over the decades, his role in Marvel and DC has become more pronounced and more obvious to people. So anyway, so what do you know about this past week's Mandalorian, Ashton? What am I not spoiling for you?
Okay, so my curse is that the Star Wars yelling follows me everywhere I go on the internet.
Don't you seek it out, though, Ashton? Don't you seek it out?
I do seek it out, but also it finds me.
Okay, I mean, that's also true. Star Wars yelling will find you.
So we're all mad and yelling about midi-chlorians again. Like 20 years later, we're angry again.
Yep. Okay, so you do you understand the context for it?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So Johnny, can you throw up the spoiler warning at the bottom for us real quick while we dive into this? Hey guys, next time you see you're gonna see the spoiler warning here, and then next time when we come back, next time when you see spoiler warning, we'll stop talking about Mandalorian if you haven't watched it yet. But it's COVID. It's we're quarantined right now, and Star Wars is on TV, which is not something that happens often. So why aren't you already caught up, Ashton? No, I'm just kidding. Because
my cousin Vinny was also on TV.
Okay, that's also fair. You know what? I'm not going to knock you on that. I may be a hypocrite if I did that. Yeah, there's a reference to midichlorians in this episode. And the thing I kind of like, I'm frustrated about it is like, now I'm curious about midichlorians for the first time ever, which has never happened ever in the history of Star Wars with Troy. So yeah, I'm curious where they're going with this because it's very heavily. Well, it's not even implied. It's kind of outright said that the child is some sort of genetic engineering, which lines up nicely with the idea that the Empire, who gave us, of course, clones and gave us the Clone Wars, would also still be doing some genetic engineering on the side. So yeah, I'm very curious to see where this is going, and I'm kind of like, damn it, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, stop making me. I was going to say eat, but stop making me eat my words, right? Because of past stuff. Also, there's a cool little thing in there about Gina Carano's character, whose name I can't remember right now.
It would be Cara Dune.
Cara Dune. Thank you, Johnny. Johnny, producer of the stars, Johnny Rose, ladies and gentlemen.
By the way, I just want to say I'm really shocked that Ashton did not see the episode, and I kind of want to put on my mask to just get away from the sickness that she's spouting.
I didn't say I wasn't going to watch it. I didn't say I was boycotting Star Wars or Mando or any of that garbage. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Leave me alone.
No, well, first of all, I had to pop in here real quick because after watching this most recent episode, I was more excited about Star Wars than I have been through. This one episode got me more excited to be part of the Star Wars universe than any of the last 3 movies did. It was fun. It was phenomenal. And the fact that Carl Weathers directed it, who plays Grief Karga.
Yeah, Apollo Creed.
He directed it, did a phenomenal job in it, and it feels like old school Star Wars. Even the settings, even the tunnels and everything that they go into, the set dressing, the buttons and everything are simple. They were back in Return of the Jedi. The simple little details like that are phenomenal. But hold on to your butts because this episode is phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, which Ashton, I encourage you to do it tonight. Otherwise, we are not friends.
Oh, damn.
Johnny out.
You got 3 days, Ash. You got a 3-day weekend to watch it before Johnny will quiz you next week. So you got some time. There you go. But yeah, no, it's cool. And there's some Gina Carano. I don't know if they ever mentioned Cara Dune's connection to Alderaan, but there's also a little bit in there about that too, which I thought was pretty cool. So yeah. Spoiler warning over. I can't really talk to Ashton about this. It's okay. We'll try again. I do want to say
this though. If you're mad about I feel like I'm a broken record. If you're mad about midichlorians, bro, chill. I've always maintained that the whole thing with midichlorians was an unnecessary dissection of what it means to be force sensitive. But all that's saying is that you are force sensitive. It's breaking it down too much. It's getting too granular. It wasn't necessary, but it's not changing any of the lore. So if you hate that word, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but it hasn't actually undone anything.
Interesting. I mean, I know it feels a little icky though, right? It seems. I love it. Ask Johnny's just trolling you so hard. He's just not having it today. Look, is the midichlorian necessary? Was it necessary to get in the weeds and say it's a little life form? No. Right. Uncalled for. Not necessary. And it's just another thing on a long list of unnecessary details that we didn't need in the prequel series. However, it's not retconning the idea of being force sensitive. Yeah, it doesn't line up step for step with what Obi-Wan says when he explains being force sensitive in A New Hope. But it's close enough. It's just a movie. I don't want to be that person that's it's just a movie, but it's close enough that it's not undoing anything. I don't think it's necessary to fight about what they aren't saying about being force sensitive. Yeah. I mean, here's my thing, right? If comic books have taught me anything, right? You kind of have to roll with the punches, right? So, okay, midichlorians exist. All right, okay, sure, fine. It's a thing that happened. So now you just have to wait till somebody comes along to make it make sense. And I think that's what we're about to get with the Mandalorian. So, all right, I'll roll with it, sure.
Right.
And this is how comic books have been treating readers for years. You just kind of have to choose to ignore certain things and roll with other things until it all kind of until it comes together to meet your taste. That's how you have to work. So actually, speaking of comic books, it's time for what's at comic shops. So hold on to your butts, as Johnny just said. Because what we're going to do is Ashley and I are going to give you our picks this week, and then we're going to talk about some big ticket items that are available this week. Also, this Turkey Day week at your local comic shop. Is that a word? I don't know.
It is now.
All right. Ashton, come on. Let's hear it. What you got?
My pick this week is from Humanoids. It is Versailles, My Father's Palace, which
Cool.
I've been kind of getting into like historical nonfiction and kind of like nonfiction in general lately. So this is kind of like right up my alley with that. It's a historical biographical telling of Pierre de Nolac, who was kind of the cardinal critical curator at the Palace of Versailles, that kind of brought like the fame and grandeur and like revolution back to the Palace of Versailles and the way that they cataloged and collected things. So, it starts with him being appointed as the palace curator in 1887, and kind of walks through his journey to become, it becomes his life mission, I'll say, for him to restore the archives and the collections at the Palace of Versailles and kind of restore it to its former glory. So he goes on to accomplish that and become, like I said, one of the most critical figures in the history of the palace. He recovers a ton of like stolen and lost furniture that was, moved about during the French Revolution. And he goes on to like hold the collection of this in like impossibly high standard, original works only. He gets rid of anything that were copies or fiction or like works of imagination. And actually, the Palace of Versailles still upholds these standards to this day. So it's original works only. But kind of in his mission to restore the Palace of Versailles, it kind of, his family falls by the wayside. Like that's the sacrifice. And so this book is told from the perspective of his son, who, watches him accomplish all of these things in spite of his family.
Okay. So. All right, cool. No, I love stories about particularly obsessive men. I don't know what that's about. That's probably my problem. It probably says a lot about me. But yeah, I'm actually kind of into that. Like this idea that this is an external thing that's outside of like, his family, his friends, his immediate circle that has just drawn him in, and like he has to get to the bottom of it somehow. I just find that really fascinating. So yeah, also shout out to Humanoids, because I mean a couple of years ago, they made it a point to make it clear that they were going to branch out from like the traditional sci-fi, Alejandro Jodorowsky, et cetera, et cetera. And they still do that stuff, of course, but it's interesting to see them kind of bring stuff over. I'm assuming this is from Europe. I'm assuming this originated from Europe, to bring stuff over that's not just science fiction or post-apocalyptic fantasy. So yeah, actually, speaking of Euro comics, right? You and I are 2 for 2 this week because look, since I came to Diamond, like I was always aware of European comics. Like it wasn't like I didn't know they existed. I just never bothered really reading them, right? And slowly I got into like the British invasion stuff, and I transitioned into reading the Grant Morrison, the Warren Ellis, all the stuff I always bring up all the time, right? And so that kind of brought me over to the European comic side once I started working for previews. And so, yeah, I just kind of like really kind of fallen in love with these, like, it seems like these sleek, super sexy sci-fi and sci-fi subgenre books that are coming out from places like France and Spain and Italy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm all about Paris 2119. Which is out this week from Magnetic Press. Number one being because it's I'm starting to note the creators who are from Europe that I seem to like. And Dominique Bertel, which I'm probably saying wrong because I'm sure it's French and I'm saying it's very American. Bertel. He did Infinity 8, which I loved, and Ghost Money, which I actually did a video on because I liked it so much. And so his thing seems to be these these sexy, sleek sci-fi stories, which apparently is right up my alley. And they're promising that this is going to be a cyberpunk thing that they're doing. And the premise behind this is actually that, in science fiction, right, teleportation is just kind of taken for granted, right? Like I feel like we watch a lot of sci-fi where people are like, oh, just go in the teleportation thing and then that's it, right? But if we had the ability to teleport That's a big freaking deal, right?
Right.
And imagine how that changes the world, how that changes transportation, how that changes imports and exports. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it changes a lot of things. And so that's what this book is about. Is like teleportation has been introduced to the world, and it's really kind of like created this whole new like reality for France, I'm assuming in this case, because the story seems to be taking place in Paris, of course. And so yeah, I'm very curious about that. I'm very curious how that's going to play out, and what Dominique Pertel and I think the artist's name is Zeb has to say about that. I think that's really interesting, and something I haven't seen a lot of. So yeah.
I'm glad you picked that book too, by the way, because when I was like looking through the new releases, that caught my eye just because of the art, and I read the synopsis, and I was like, wow, this is super different. Definitely worth it. So I'm glad that got a shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I saw our picks this week, and I was like, okay, we're gonna go European this week. I'm with it. I'm a peon, European. We're all peon. Retro's a bad joke, sorry. But yeah, it's retro sci-fi, cyberpunk, Black Mirror, Blade Runner. So all those things. If you're into any of those things, you should probably check it out. All right, so I think we're gonna stop calling this big ticket items, and I think we're gonna call this the point that Troy's worthless brain becomes worthy, I should say, because and I say that because Johnny just throws up stuff on the screen, and I have to guess what it is. So here we go. I mean, this is what we do every week, and like it just occurred to me that like this has almost become a game that I'm playing that I don't think people are aware that we're that they're witnessing. So yeah, there you go. Crash quiz. Let's go, Johnny. What's available this week? What are the big ticket items? Okay, first of all, that's not what's available in comic shops.
I'm so excited.
Okay, so you tried to throw me for a loop. I appreciate it, Johnny. All right, Ten of Swords. I finally said Ten of Swords instead of X of Swords. Destruction. This is the final chapter in the big Ten of Swords event that Marvel is doing right now. It's been some great stuff. There's been some mixed bag stuff. The strongest points to me have been actually Excalibur and the X-Men book specifically, and how it outlines Apocalypse's story. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing how that concludes, because that is very much a huge part of this story, and it has been the major through line that has kept me interested throughout. So definitely check it out if you're like me and you just want to know where this is going. What else we got? Spawn 312. So this is cool because Spawn is going to be meeting up with another Spawn who actually wore the cape of Spawn previously to defeat a enemy. So yeah, check this out. It's Todd McFarlane. He's got some great artists kind of like jumping in here to join him as of late. And of course, this is the record-breaking comic, like he loves to say. All right, Monstrous. So Monstrous right now, of course, is on hiatus. They're in between arcs, and so here's a little filler for you guys. And I shouldn't even say filler, because what they're doing is they're fleshing out the background on one particular character. So if you're a big Monsters fan and you're kind of like need that fix and you haven't been getting it, I'm sure the book's been on hiatus for several reasons. One being COVID, but also possibly because if you look at the artwork on this book, like you just have to assume that it takes a lot of time to do. So definitely check out Monstrous Talk Stories #1. It's nice little like one-off that you can pick up from your local comic shop this week. Usagi Yojimbo, Wanderer's Road. So this is a reprint of a classic Usagi Yojimbo story. God, you cannot say that 10 times fast. Usagi Yojimbo story. And the cool thing is they're recoloring it. So definitely check that out if you've read this book before, or if you're new to Usagi Yojimbo, because this is a classic character and people love this character for a reason. And Stan Sakai is a great visual storyteller, as well as a great narrative storyteller as well. TMNT, The Best of Donatello. I mean, it's The Best of Donatello. I think these are just reprints, to be honest. But if you're like me, you have not read a lot of the TMNT stuff, the classic TMNT stuff, this is definitely what you want to pick up this week. What else we got? All right, this one, I was actually glad to see this. Remember last week, Ashley, we both saw the cover for Star Wars Bounty Hunters. I think it was number 7.
Yeah,
and
hell yeah.
We were like, oh God, this looks cool. So there's a trade now. And so I'm going to jump all over this because I didn't even realize that this book existed up until last week. And the concept behind this is just like someone made the mistake of betraying Boba Fett. And so now that's basically like, the galaxy's deadliest are all pitted against each other. And it's kind of, it's exactly what you would want from a bounty hunter comic. It's like a bunch of Star Wars characters versus each other, and in the name of respect and fortune and glory, right? So definitely check that out. And if you've read if you've read Old Man Hawkeye or Old Man Quill, it's from the same writer, so definitely pick this up. All right. Mega Man Fully Charged number 4. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know a lot about this one. But the covers look awesome. And Boom Studios has great artists. And if you're a Mega Man fan, which I'm not a big Mega Man fan, admittedly, you should definitely check this out. So go Team Capcom. What else we got? Burt Reynolds with a Lobster. This is
what am I looking at?
This is actually a great sequel to Human Centipede that I don't think a lot of people know about. And actually,
I hate that.
fun fact, it doesn't actually star Burt Reynolds. How about that? It's Jason Lee playing Burt Reynolds. All right. The Witcher Fading Memories number 1. Where did Johnny get that picture from?
What is this right?
Anyway, The Witcher Fading Memories number 1. I love how the Witcher's books are always described, which is very much a step with the video game, which is Geralt is like kind of walking around aimlessly, and then like he ends up finding something that he has to solve, which is how the Witcher video games are. And so that's the case here. This actually involves kidnapped children, if I remember correctly. And so, yeah, I mean, if put the console down for a second, or don't put the console down, put the controller down for a second. The whole console down. And read some Witcher from Dark Horse Comics, because I have it on good authority that these books are actually excellent. What else we got? Kaiju Score number 1. So I don't know if you remember when we had Ruth Ann Thompson on, she talked a little bit about this. This is a new comic from Aftershock that's already been picked up as a comic book, as a movie.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah. And so the idea here is it's Quentin Tarantino meets Godzilla. So definitely check this out if those two things make you curious. And oddly enough, I think there's a lot of crisscrossing interest there, Quentin Tarantino and Godzilla. So definitely pick up Kaiju Score. Sorry, I burped. Green Hornet number 4. I'm actually curious about this. So this is actually there's a Lone Wolf and Cub type of thing going on here. Very similar to Mandalorian. And actually, I like the Green Hornet. I've always thought the Green Hornet was cool. So definitely check this out. It's the description wasn't very detailed, but if you're up to this issue thus far, you know what you're getting yourself into. And also, I love the cover art on this too. That's actually a really great cover as well. Okay, so this is for Ashton. Dune, the graphic novel, book 1. I know next to nothing about Dune except for like maybe the 12 chapters I read. So Ashton, why are you excited about this book?
Because Dune is like one of the most important pieces of like science fiction work to ever take place. It lays the groundwork for like just about any other science fiction thing you've seen that you love. It has probably borrowed something from Dune. And it's quite a big book if you read it in its prose form, and that's because Frank Herbert spends a lot of time world building. So that'll translate really well into a graphic novel because of the detail he gives there. So I'm thinking that this is probably broken into 3 books the same way like the prose book is broken into like 3 chunks, 3 books, 3 chapters, whatever you want to call it. So I'm thinking this is going to follow the same way. So this will be kind of like your first chunk of them moving from Caladan to Arrakis and taking over that planet, and their initial kind of altercations with the Harkonnens and the Fremens. So I'm hyped.
All right. Look at that. Geek cred approved. I don't ever want to hear you guys say Ashton's a fake nerd. No, she's not. She's I mean, if you couldn't figure that out by now based off of her rant about midichlorians, then come on.
I'm here to yell.
She's here to yell all the time.
I think I'm like slowly alienating people by having like ridiculously unnecessary hot takes.
You know what? It's just like The Office, Ashton. It's okay. No, I'm kidding.
It's okay until it's not.
I mean, I think people need to relax and chill. I think it's okay. And I actually find your hot takes very amusing. And it prompts conversation, which is the entire point of this show. We don't have to be right, guys. We just have a take. So what was this? Okay, sorry. Johnny's asking me questions afterwards, Johnny, after the video. So, okay, what the hell am I talking about, right? So guess what, guys? There's a new previews catalog out this week, and some cool stuff is actually featured on this cover, on the inside and on the cover this month. So I'm going to fork it over to Gretchen, and she's going to show you what's available inside previews catalog, the December edition. Check this.
Hey, Previews World, you can breathe a sigh of relief because 2020 is almost over. And if you can't escape this year fast enough, then I have some good news. December's previews catalog is already looking at the future. Let's take a look at what's available to pre-order early next year. A suicide at the Tyrell Corporation, a dead scientist, the LAPD's robot hunting squad, and a shocking discovery that awaits for all involved. Titan Comics reveals the details behind the original replicant in Blade Runner Origins. featured on this month's cover of Previews. On the back cover this month is Image Comics' Radiant Black. Nothing seems to be going right for Nathan, until the day he finds a strange artifact that gives him cosmic power. From Power Rangers and Ultraman writer Kyle Higgins comes a tale of nigh infinite power, and the struggle to keep it out of the reach of its original owner. The X-Men have a long and storied history, and Marvel Comics opens the books on your favorite X-Men teams and the unsolved mysteries that have plagued continuity for decades. From legendary creators Brett Booth, Chris Claremont, Louise Simonson, Larry Hama, Peter David, and more, comes all new in-continuity stories. It's X-Men Legends, arriving this February. Arrakis awaits. McFarlane Toys is bringing the Dune movie adaptations to comic shops first. These 7-inch action figures feature Paul, Lady Jessica, Duncan, and more. Bonus, each figure comes with a Build-A-Figure piece. And there's so much more. You can look forward to titles like Sonya Versal, or collectibles like NECA's Batman movie figures. So set foot on Previews World. You can pick up a physical copy of our catalog at your local comic shop, or head on over to previewsworld.com/catalog today.
All right. Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you for that hair. Like Gretchen comes to show off, I think, every time she does some of these videos. She really does dress up for the occasion, which I appreciate. So
I'm okay with that. I love her hair. I'm staring at it the whole time.
It's distracting. I was like, can you even look at the catalog with that hair? That's the real question here. So yeah, the Previews catalog is available this month, and of course, there's all the stuff that's available to pre-order now, coming soon to your local comic shop in about, let's say, about 2 months. It depends on the item, but usually the 2 months is the cycle there. Yeah, and there's really cool stuff. I actually saw a Katara figure from Avatar: The Last Bender from DST in there that you saw that. Yeah, it's really cool, actually. I love that. Of course, X-Men Legends, which I know a lot of people are excited about because it allows those of you who are grumpy about House of X, Powers of 10, and all that stuff to just relive the 90s all over again. But of course, they're going to interweave elements of retroactive elements from Dawn of X. And also, I got to give a shout out. There's a Faith comic in there for all you closeted Buffy fans like myself, or not closeted Buffy fans. Like I'm very much a fan of Faith and Eliza Dushku for any number of reasons. So, and one day I'll tell you about how I met her and how ridiculous that situation was. And also, I got to point this out. I saw these Back to the Future ducks.
What?
Yeah, these Back to the Future ducks. This is on the website right now. So as Gretchen pointed out, you can pick up the catalog, or you can just look at our website at previewsworld.com/catalog. But the end result is always go to your local comic shop and let them know that you want these items. But I saw this. They have Star Trek and Back to the Future, like bathtub ducks, like rubber duckies.
Puffer vest one.
Yeah.
I want those.
Like, yeah, the Spock, all of it. It's like, yeah, it's out of control. I love the Uhura.
Look at those sexy eyes.
So yeah, definitely check that out. I mean, hey, look, I didn't know that there was a cross section or a Venn diagram where Star Trek and Back to the Future meet, but apparently they do. So you know what? Hey, go for it. And actually, now that I see them again, I kind of like, I just want one. I'll put it in the guest bathroom just to make people be like, why is this in here? Anyway, it's Social Swamp time, so let's go ahead and do the Social Swamp ting. Social Swamp ting. Sure. I don't know. I shouldn't be talking right now. Ashton, do your thing, please.
Okay. So we asked you guys to tell us your favorite or some of the best final issues in comics. We're trying to take a break from some of the yelling in the second half of the show since we do it all up front now. So we're going for a soft question. What is the best final issue? Christopher says both final issues of the initial runs of Action Comics and Superman. Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, two-parter by Kurt Swan and Alan Moore. Sean Thomas says it's not strictly a comic book, but the final strip of Calvin and Hobbes is just perfect.
Yeah, it is actually. I got to co-sign that.
Shamsabar says Walking Dead. It was unannounced and beautiful.
Yeah.
Steven says Preacher, also Hitman. Garth Ennis knows how to end a series.
No, absolutely. Actually, we just did a walk through hell for the panel. That was like the last episode of the panel we did for, and I think that was back for Halloween actually. Right. And yeah, the ending's phenomenal, and I co-sign that. Garth Ennis just knows how to close out strong. So, what about you, Ashton? What do you consider a great final issue?
So I'm actually going to co-sign Walking Dead, and not necessarily because it was unannounced. I mean, that was cool, and like Robert Kirkman doing his quirky thing, which I appreciated. But I think the thing that was particularly resonant about the way The Walking Dead ends is twofold. One, it gets to a place in the comics, and this also happens in the TV show, where it becomes very obvious that when Rick dies, it is not going to be by a walker. It's going to be by another human. And somebody that disagrees with the way that he leads, because he's very forceful and adamant in his leadership choices. So I appreciated that he died at the hands of somebody else. I mean, of course, you never want to see your hero die, but like that felt very appropriate for Rick. But I think the thing that's most impactful there is the send-off. You know, when Michonne and Carl go to bury Rick, you know, she's like, there's a few people that want to come with us. And it's literally the whole entire town. And I think that is like that feels satisfying, because it's, you know, even though you don't want to see Rick die, you want to know that he made an impact, because he sacrificed so much that you want to walk away feeling like he got something out of that. And I felt like I did, knowing that he impacted all of those people so much so that they felt like they owed that to him to send him off.
Now, you know, actually, I want to ask you, what do you think makes a good ending? Like, I think you said satisfying, and I like, you know, there's of course a range of reasons that like you can get satisfaction from an ending, but like, you know, what is the through line there? What allows that? I wonder.
That's a great question. That's a question we could unpack forever. I think for me, and this is a little, you know, ethereal in its nature, but I think for me, what makes a good ending is when the characters stay true to themselves and true to like their plot points and their personality. Like, it's easy to sell a character out for the sake of just wrapping something up. So I think part of what makes it satisfying is when the character finishes in a way that is very obviously them. I know that's very kind of like a lofty answer, but it's a lofty question as well.
No, I think that's kind of what I was thinking too, is like, I think like, you know, the creator, the writer, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, whatever format it is, hopefully they've been seeding like clues as to how the character is going to be offed or how the story is going to end. And sometimes it's not even super obvious things, right? It's not even like, you know, oh, you saw this gun in season 1, and now in season 2, the gun is the thing that saves everybody. You know, it's not even necessarily, or season 7, you know, it's not necessarily something as obvious as that. It's more along the lines of, just like you said, character motivations and consistency and a character motivation. I think that's the thing. That's kind of like the chef's kiss, right? Of like, you know, how to end a story, like to not have them act erratically, but to have them act in a way that's like, yeah, that makes sense. Whether or not it's, I mean, and truly, whether or not it's heroic or not, you know, like, I think that's a big part of it. And actually, that brings me to my pick, actually, which is Ultimate Spider-Man. The initial run by Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley. Bagley had left the book for a little bit, and then Stuart Eminem took over. But because Bagley and Bendis had started the book together, Bagley came back at the end and did the Death of Spider-Man story and Ultimate Fallout. And yeah, it's actually a great ending, and I to me, it's like the best possible way to kill off Spider-Man, if that makes any sense. Of course, it led into Miles Morales being introduced, but the very concept that like the last person he fights is Green Goblin, who is by all intents is his arch nemesis, right? Yeah. And the fact that like witnessing his death, and also basically his the outing of Peter Parker as Spider-Man, is Aunt May, and is Johnny Storm, and is Gwen Stacy, who of course is not dead in the Ultimate Comics line. Yeah, it's really neat, and it just like it brings everything together in like a you know, it's almost cheating to do sappy in Spider-Man. Like, I mean, for me personally, like, if you do sappy Spider-Man, I'm going to fall for it every time. You know, that's just my connection with that character. I've been following him for so long, and so like, if you just tug on that heartstring just a little bit, I'm all in. And like, Brian Michael Bendis knocked that out of the park. And I know it's really popular right now to rag on him, but like, I will always be a fan of Bendis because of the way that he gave us a Peter Parker send off. Because we'll never get that send off in regular Spider-Man, because Peter Parker's just going to be around forever, right? But to kind of get some sort of closure for that particular iteration of that character, I absolutely love. And also just because I'm a Marvel zombie, like, you know, I love Punisher the End, which is another Garth Ennis thing. And also love Hulk the End, which is a Peter David story that he did, which is actually pretty great too. Because for the exact reason that you pointed out, it's these characters have through lines throughout their storied history and publication, right? And to see them do things in a way that is instantly familiar, even if you stopped reading comics by them for years, you know what I mean? But to see them just kind of like have that finale that's like, yeah, that's what that character would do. Like, you know, I think that's probably the most satisfying thing you can possibly do for a viewer, is like, just, reward them for paying attention. I think that's really the big thing here. So yeah, cool. Social Swamp, best final issues. There you go, guys. Keep the comments coming if you can. Like, drop your favorite final issues in the comments before, not final story arcs, but final issues. I saw a lot of Preacher in there from a lot of people. So like, definitely let us know and keep the conversation going. All right, weekly poll time. What do we got this week on the weekly poll, Ashton?
Okay, so brace yourselves. Remember this, because I think it's going to be relevant again next week. So earlier this week on Twitter, everyone was like yelling at each other about what is like better, who is better, who has the better programming, characters, whatever, between Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. And I was like, all right, let's get in the weeds about this. Who has the smarter idiot?
The smarter idiot. Okay, this specifically is the smarter idiot. Okay.
Right. So I asked who would win in a common knowledge quiz off, i.e., who is smarter between Ed of Ed, Ed and Eddie, and then of course Patrick Star from SpongeBob. So pitting like each network's dumbest character against the other.
Okay.
And
all right.
everyone got really mad. A dumb off, yeah.
Everybody got really mad. Why?
You know, like about 20 minutes before I hopped on to do this stream, I had noticed there was like some angry back and forth comments about like someone had said, you know, Patrick's living on his own and surviving, so there's that. And then someone was like, yeah, but Patrick's an adult, Ed's only 12. And then they're just like yelling at each other about like the validity of their age. And at one point someone's like, well, Patrick's a starfish, so shut up. And I was like,
what is going on here? Okay. Interesting. All right. Okay. All right. So all right. I guess with all that information at your disposal, Johnny, come back here.
Yes.
Did you just? Why did it look like you?
Did I just wake up? No, I was busy looking for something, because when just something Ashton just said made me realize, when you said you pitted like a network's dumbest characters, I think you were forgetting one very important character.
Dumb characters.
Gur from Invader Zim.
I love him so much.
But yeah, so I mean, why he wasn't in the running, I don't know. But that's neither here nor there. So let me share my screen. Let me get back to the Twitter. There we go.
I don't know. I was going for like the like cornerstone idiot. And to me, that was Ed and Patrick.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, Ed is just, like you said, he's just an idiot. Like, Gur is just the byproduct of faulty programming.
Right.
Like, that could be fixed.
Right. That could be any of us. Aren't we all the byproduct of faulty programming, thanks to our parents?
Heck yeah.
So it's up to me to decide here.
Yep.
Okay. So I feel like Ed, I've never heard utter a sensical thing in his life. I've never heard him utter any kind of like words of wisdom or that could be construed as like sensical. Patrick, on the other hand, I feel like has.
He has his moments.
He has his moments. They're few and far between, but I feel like Patrick would probably beat Ed in a knowledge quiz off. So I'm going to go with him. So we'll see. Oh, more people voting for Ed.
Oh, wow.
Close,
okay.
Though.
But see, if you get just Ed, then you have to assume that the rest of them are there. So the other Ed, who is the smart one, would just be his wingman.
No, it is Ed against Patrick, because then you could have Sandy. And then that just defeats the purpose of the whole thing.
Ashton, I'm 43. I don't watch cartoons anymore. What do you want from me?
I mean, you know what, Johnny? You invited this. You came on here to be the decider. So you know you have to live with your mistakes. Johnny.
No, I didn't come here on here to be the decider. I came on here to put this up.
Stop doing that.
Why does that even
Is this
exist?
a fake crab or is this a
Where
real
did you get
crab?
this?
I don't know. When you were talking about, when you said that you were going to go through and test your knowledge about what's out this week, I'm like, Johnny just throws up images. I'm like, okay, yes, I am going to just throw up an image and see what Troy does.
All right, you know what? This might become a thing now. I'm just letting you know that. So let's see. Don't ever post a Lamprey because I will hate you for life. But
He will rage quit the stream.
But yes, now I want to try this every week and see if Johnny can and see if I break stride here. We'll see what happens.
Yes,
Anyway,
well, Johnny
all
out.
right. Johnny out. Thank you, Johnny, very much. Johnny 5, staying alive. Okay, I don't know why I said that. Whatever. What is this week's comic shop shout out, Ashton?
This week's comic shop shout out goes to Fat Collectibles, in California. And this comes from Remy C. If you would like to have us shout out your local comic shop, find us on social media, tag your shop if they have an account, and also use the hashtag #SupportYourLCS. We will find your post and we will shout out your shop so that we can give them love, and we love all comic shops equally, so we're dying to do that.
All right. Yes, absolutely. We definitely love all comic shops equally. We do not discriminate here. And no, I actually love that it's called Fat Collectibles.
I love that it's PH, like PHAT. Like I'm into that.
I absolutely love that. I'm gonna have to, if they're next time we're in California, we're gonna have to check that place out if possible. Because shout out to them for sure. So okay, before we give you guys our comic shop shout out, we close out for the day, right? With images from our comic shop shout out. I just want to let you know, hey, I don't know if I said this last week, but the panel, what was that face? The panel, I Hate Fairyland. So yes, we're gonna be doing I Hate Fairyland to close out this season of the panel. So yeah, definitely check this out. And we might have a surprise guest. I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to say who, but definitely tune in at the top of December to check it out. I think it's December 11th, if I remember correctly. That'll be airing. We don't have a time yet, but we will let you guys know. We definitely will keep you updated on what's going to happen here. But it's going to be hosted by Anna Mia, and I think Natasha's going to be joining us for this one. So definitely check that out. And our resident Scotty Young fan, Johnny Rose, is going to be in the house.
Ooh. All the hot takes.
All the hot takes. So yeah, huge Scotty Young fan. Like I'm so excited. It's too bad you're not at your office, because then you can really show off the display you have, because his Scotty Young display is phenomenal.
Oh, I'll just surround myself with everything I can around this desk here and be like, seriously, Scotty, I got this. Let's show us I am biggest fan. I'm not making fun of everyone. That's just how I sound when I geek out about something.
I mean, hey, you know what?
Valid.
It's okay. It's all right, Johnny. A little making fun of the nerds is actually okay. I think we need to make fun of ourselves a little bit more and not take things so seriously. So how about that? Mm-hmm. So hey guys, like, follow, subscribe. If you enjoyed this episode, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but if you did, look, there's more offensive things on YouTube than us. So share, like, and subscribe to Previews World. We're here every week at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, and you can look at our shining faces, especially my shining face. I'm not sure what's going on here right now.
You're very luminescent.
I am. So I'm like a sea creature or something. I don't know what the hell's going on. But anyway, definitely check us out every week. And hey, be sure to also just check out all the other additional goodies and great stuff that's happening on previewsworld.com and on Preview World's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, Instagram. And also, hey, Ashton's here representing Free Comic Book Day every single week. So definitely check out her Twitter, her Instagram, her Facebook, all focused on Free Comic Book Day. And I guess that's it for Previous World Weekly, guys. 50 minutes. I'd say that's pretty good.
Solid work.
All right. Solid work. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week at the Spinner Rack. We'll catch you later.
Don't forget that you can catch Previews World Weekly streaming live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific at Previews World on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.